Hey, John here! After practicing today's lesson, you will not only understand the modes, you will also know what they sound like. As an added bonus, you also get an awesome alternate picking warm-up routine. The modes are often misunderstood, especially when taught in relation to a parent major scale. You probably heard that if you have a major scale and then start and end on the second scale degree, you have the Dorian mode. The problem with this is that it doesn't really sound that way, and I remember reading a guitar magazine way back, like in the early 90s, and I was excited because I saw a modes article, and the article showed me this: basically play a major scale, sounds like a major scale, great, I was fully on board. And then it said if you want to build a Dorian mode, you simply start on the second note of the major scale and go to the second note on top as well. Alright, so I tried that. And to me this was like, okay, don't really get it, because it kind of sounds like I'm starting on the second degree of a major scale and going up to the second degree, so it's like a sequence. And then it said, well, if you want the Phrygian scale, you start on the third scale degree of a major scale and go up to the third. But in my ear, I hear this as the root, because there's nothing else around this that makes us hear the other notes as the root. And that's the problem, because we hear music in a context. So whatever note we perceive as the root, we're going to compare every note against that. So this was really confusing to me, but as soon as I learned the other way of doing it, everything became clear. The other way of doing it is building the modes from the same note and changing the scale degrees and thus the sound. So we take this C major scale again from the 8th fret. So we got 8, 10, 12 on the E string, and then we have the same frets on the A string. And then we have the 9th and 10th on the D string. So that's a 1 octave C major scale going up from C to C. But now we're going to number the notes from 1 through 7. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 1. So what we got now is the formula for the Ionian mode. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And Ionian is just a fancier name of the major scale. So this is our ruler. And I don't mean as in a king, I mean as in a measuring stick. It's very difficult to relate to anything if you have no idea what the actual measuring device is. So whoever came up with music theory decided that, okay, the major scale is going to be the measuring stick, so we're going to just use normal numbers for these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then when we change this to, let's say, natural minor, we're just going to flat the third, the 6 and the 7s. We're going to get 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, and then 1. And as you heard now, the sound changed as well. So that's the whole point of it all. But it's very hard to do that if you don't know where the initial 7 notes are. Because if I tell you to, yeah, and you just flat the 7, and you're going to be like, huh? Because you don't know where the 7 is. So by practicing this routine as well, that's going to become very clear. Because now the only thing you need is the formulas for the remaining 6 modes. And you tweak the pertinent notes of the major scale fingering, and you have whatever mode that you're looking for. Now if we go back and look at the modes and the order of the modes when we play them in a relative fashion, meaning that we relate everything to the parent major scale, then we get Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. And you might feel like, well, what's the problem with that? Well, the problem is in the formulas. They're all over the place. So for Ionian, we have just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But when we get to Dorian, you actually get 1, because now this is 1, but we hear this is 1 still. But in terms of the formula, you have 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. So you have 2 flats. And then when you get to Phrygian, you have 2 more flats, because you flat the second and you flat the 6 as well. And then when you get to Lydian, you remove all flats and add a sharp instead. So it's kind of like, huh? What's happening? There's no logic to be seen here. But saying that, it's still important to know this order, but not at this point. I think it's more important for you, if you're new to the modes, to learn the modes in the way that I'm going to show you, because it makes way more sense. You can hear how the modes sound, and you can see how changing the intervals on the fretboard also changes the sounds. So it's a way better method of learning the modes. But like I said, learning it the other way or understanding the other way has its uses as well, but we're not going to cover that today. In our light to dark method, we're going to start with Lydian since it has all natural notes plus a sharp 4. This sharp 4 gives the scale an extra lift. So listen to the difference here between Lydian and major. So here's Lydian, 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And then compare that to the major scale, the Ionian, the only difference is that we go back from sharp 4 to natural 4. So we have Lydian, major. It's kind of like if you do, or second one sounds not very Danny Elfman-ish, or like The Simpsons, sounds kind of hokey. But it's a very big difference, even though it's only one note. So the Lydian definitely have that brighter sound compared to the Ionian / major scale. So once we've gone from Lydian and then into Ionian, we keep going. So the next mode would be to flat the 7 of the Ionian mode, so we get Mixolydian. And then from there we're going to go to Dorian, flatting the 3rd. We're going to go to Aeolian, flatting the 6th. Then we're going to go to Phrygian, flatting the 2nd. And then finally we're going to end up with Locrian, flatting the 5 as well. So the beauty of this system is that you go from mode to mode and only change one note at a time. And any note you've already changed stays that way. So that's why I only call out one new note for each mode, because it's only one new note, which makes this infinitely easier to grasp and learn. The notes you change will get a slightly darker sound for each mode you go into. If you start from light to dark, you can also go from dark to light, of course, but today we're just going to go from light to dark. This makes much more sense to our ears, and once you grasp this concept, everything really opens up. So the practice routine we're going to do today is playing each mode from light to dark, starting on the note C on the 8th fret that we've already been doing, but we're going to play the entire shape. By doing this, we're not only covering all the modes, we're also practicing each of the 7 3 notes per string shapes, but now you can also see how the intervals relate to the root note. This should ideally be practiced over a drone note, a low ringing root note, so in the demonstration it's played over a low C. You can also see the name and formula for each mode in the demonstration as I play it. So I'm just going to show the major scale version now, and you have everything in the tabs already, so you can just check that out. But the pattern we're going to play is basically going to start on the lowest note here, go all the way up in the shape. And when we get here, we go back up to the 5th and then back down again. I only added these notes so we would end up better rhythmically. We're going to have 5 bars of 4/4 using 8th notes in the actual routine. So this is all alternate picked, starting with a downstroke. So let's check out the routine. This is the first variation of this exercise, so practice this today, Tomorrow I'll bring you another one so you can really ingrain the sounds and the shapes of the modes so you can finally understand this very important concept. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and see you tomorrow.